Welcome to a new episode of the Weekly Wowos. My name is Dennis Msali, your weekly host. And this week we're going to be talking about the Enterprise Cup that will be in town. There's been a lot of noise about the venue, but our rugby connoisseur, Joseph Manmohmuza, is here to tell us why Wankokolo was chosen over some of the rugby venues that are loyal to the fans they could have wanted, but also a conversation about what is happening in the National Basketball League that is live on Kawowo Sports YouTube channel, and some bit of a conversation about the Uganda Premier League, that is football, because Edwin Kyle Kule is back with us this week. He's been missing in action, but this week, so he'll be telling us a bit of a thing or two about the football. But he also wanted to speak about a man who at only 14 years old is becoming a legend in the world of table tennis, Sir Joseph Sebatindira. He was one of, by the way, at the UOC Awards where I was on Saturday evening, he was one of the few people nominated as in the category of male athlete of the year, and he was in the company of some elite athletes. So for him at only 14 to be part of that conversation, I think is a big deal. So Joseph Manmohmuza, a resident rugby connoisseur, and Edwin Kyle Kule. Let me start with Edwin. What is your starter this week?
Yeah, by the way, it's glad to be back. I've been enjoying the conversations from back home. Just that Mani lacked energy in the last 2 weeks. I don't know what happened. But I've been enjoying the conversations. However, for me, talking about my highlight or starter, I have two men to appreciate. One is Dr. Lawrence Mulindwa. Sometimes we ask ourselves why athletes look different at Vipers. You know, they have the winning mentality and all that, but the motivation there is outstanding. Because last week, he managed to give players handing over an envelope to the captain of 50 million, thanking them for finishing top of the table for the first round. But in that same meeting, he promised them 300 million if at all they are to win the title. Now, this money is for players and maybe the technical team. But remember that the winning fee, or the fee that you take home as a team when you win the league, is just 60 million. So the man has put his own prize money to take, and that surely creates. And on the other side, I want to appreciate the man himself, Sebatindira, for winning two gold medals on the national level. He's been up and around the globe, currently in Poland, and you want to thank the coaches that are working with him. That is the man himself, Coach Katumba, who is a great friend of Kawowo, because we normally visit him at his training camps, mainly at Nakasero, Ochibuli, whatever they are doing with those young lads. It's very nice. And those that managed to follow our stories while we were covering the Katerega Memorial Table Tennis Championship, you managed to see that 70% of the champions throughout that tournament were from the Nakasero School, or the Nakasero Table Tennis Academy, which has brought up very, very sharp talent. When you look at the likes of Shakira, the likes of Pavin, and then you look at what Sebatindira is doing at that early age, you get to know the hard work that they are doing at Nakasero.
Yeah, I wonder what time Sebatindira goes to class at Nakasero Primary School, because he's always somewhere in the world competing globally. I think the next step would be for the table tennis association is to get him a tutor that moves around with him, so that he doesn't miss class. I think that's what they do sort of in cricket. You see the teams that especially those teams that are that level, a level higher than us. Even Uganda we can't afford, but the member countries that have really good money, they always have tutors with the youngsters, and they would always put them in when it's time for class, they would take them out from a training session, help them catch up with school, and then come back to the cricket. So
yeah, but I hope you're saying that from the point of being a parent, but also someone that works closely to athletes. But I, as a fan, I will say that whatever the man is hoping to get after studies, he's getting it now, even better. So then it creates a notion of but it is very important for our athletes to be in class, like we've already said it here. Hopefully they put that in consideration.
No, I've been around, and now I'm a sports administrator. I know how much school is important to Uganda athletes, because our ecosystem here appreciates those that have gone to school before it appreciates those that have put in too much time in their talent. So it's important for him to focus on the books. But to appreciate Dr. Lawrence Mlinda, for me, when I had an opportunity to volunteer with some guys when they were playing in the CAF Champions League, and I saw the amount of work that he has put in at Vipers, any day, any time, I'll give him everything that he ever desires in Ugandan sport. What he's done at Vipers is absolutely amazing, especially when it is coming out of your own pocket. So kudos to him, and I hope that the players can be able to enjoy some of that money whenever it comes through for them.
Yeah. And by the way, the players there are doing well. When you look at Karim Watambala, for those that can go through his X handle, he managed to post a house that he was putting up. You saw the amount that has been invested in that house. Is this money gotten from a club around Uganda? But then you see it's a good house. Hopefully it's completed at his early age. Putting that together, then you get to know whatever or wherever the source of the money is, it's some good money. And for our athletes, it even gives them more hope for the youngsters that are coming up, that when you do well, you can get to such clubs that can give you good, and then better off your life.
Yeah, true that. Anything for the athlete, I think I'm for it. Joseph, your starter this week?
My starter of the week comes from rugby, and this is women's rugby. The Panthers Rugby Club. They used to be attached to the Legends system, but now they also moved around. They play from the 5D when they are playing at home. But the Panthers have come a very long way from when they were first revived. From being a team that was swallowing 192 to now holding the Thunderbirds to just 21 points. Unfortunately, they didn't score, but just to reduce that margin shows the sort of progress that is within that squad. And what for me makes them special is that they were almost starting from scratch. Temuri Gambambo, why you're buying players from here and there. They almost the way you see like in the men's side, when they want to start, they can go and shop from wherever. But the Panthers have started from scratch. They have gotten some of those girls from Naguru, and they have introduced them to this beautiful sport. And I believe that they are only going to get better, because at the moment, if they have like at the moment they have like 2-3 players who are also within the national team setup that is preparing for the Rugby Africa Women's Cup, which is a sign of progress for them as a club and as a project.
Oh, all right. Good luck to the Panthers. I know how managing a club in rugby sport is a difficult thing. Hopefully they can go all the way. Last season we were singing praises for Nile Rapids, and now all of a sudden they cause in Ugandan rugby. So hopefully in our next conversations as well, we'll be speaking about the Panthers like that. But for me, my starter this week will be from the game of cricket, where Steve Tikolo was unveiled as the Cricket Cranes head coach. He returns on his third stint with the team. But I think one of the things that I've liked, especially from the narrative, is that everyone wishes him well. Usually you appoint a coach and people asking why him, this, that. But I think the vibes have been very, very good. Yeah, that's Steve Tikolo. The man in red, the guy in yellow is that's the man in red, Steve Tikolo. He had that opportunity to coach the team. The Cricket Cranes, now he returns to the team in a different place, and that is one of I think that was my conversation in the story that I wrote on Kawowo Sports, that in the past year he was walking into a team that wasn't very ambitious, so he had a lot of time to sort of build things. But now he comes to a team that is looking to qualify for the T20 World Cup in 2028 and also become an ODI nation round about sometime next year. So the targets are different for him, and I think it's going to be a good test for him to try and take the team to that level, to the next level. If he can do it, time will tell. But is he the right man for the job? Yes, I think the team they have a very young team right now, which is going through some transition. And
when do you tell that
and he has a good record with young players?
Eh?
I think for now
because he has not yet done anything. What makes him the right man?
Because the 2 stints he's been here, he's done something. So now when he comes back, the difference between those 2 times and now is that the team, he finds the team at a higher level. And then he found the team at sort of a lower level, so he could be able to build and then get them to the next step. But now he finds us at a very high level. And I don't know if, like I said, time will tell, because in November they'll go for the T20 qualifiers. In August, as soon as August, they'll be vying for that ODI championship. So there's enough time for him to try and build something.
You have set up the man. you said the man came and fairly did well. Now the things you're talking about,
the expectations
he has to get olive even early if he fails to get them. So let's wait and see.
Yeah, let's wait and see. But I think it's a good signing for Cricket Uganda.
But for me, I'm happy for a black man handling us. It's closer to us than the man who was in office previously.
Yeah, I think that's one of the reasons he had an edge over everyone else, because the Kenyans and the Ugandans, we all come from the same setup. So in terms of a cultural fit, I think he was the right person for that.
Hope he will be Ugandan when we are facing Kenya.
Most definitely. And now that we even beat Kenya, it's easier for him than in the past, where we are sort of close, but now we are a better team than Kenya. So he doesn't have Dennis, to worry about the performance of his team.
Now what happens to the players that sort of came in and were naturalized to play for Uganda?
I think that's a question that, and I'm hoping that when they come back from Namibia, we shall have Steve here with us to sort of have a conversation with him. I think that is one of the things. Every coach has his own direction. I think the previous coach, wanted guys who could be able to help him take the team to the next level. So that is something that Steve will have to figure out. Does he want to keep them, or does he want to try the Edwin Kakule, Joseph Manmoums, and Dennis Musali? So I think that will be his own. That will be his call. But when you make such calls, they either bury you or they take you to the next level. So there's a delicate balance there to manage. There's a delicate balance to manage, but that has been my starter for this week. But let's dive into the conversation straight away and start with the Enterprise Cup that comes to Kampala this weekend. I think first of all, let's start with the talking point. Joseph, a lot of people were wondering why it's not at Chadondo, it's not at Chadi. Chadi is the home of the Heathens and the Buffaloes, and it's really when you talk about Chadi, it's either the other thing or you're going for rugby. So it's an easy sell. If it wasn't those two, it is either KPA, which is the home of the Pirates, one of the teams in the Enterprise Cup, or if you're going to compromise, we had gotten used to Nambole because of the Rugby Africa Championship last year. But all of a sudden, I don't know why Wankulukuku was chosen as a venue. Wankulukuku is more famous for hosting Express and Sports Club Villa. But now the rugby is going to Wankulukuku. I've seen a fee of 10K. But I sort of feel like for the ordinary rugby fan, Wankulukuku is sort of out of town. It's an unfamiliar location. I don't know whether the rugby vibe can go to Wankulukuku, but of all venues, why was Wankulukuku chosen?
Yes, thank you very much, Dennis. First of all, there are very many factors to look at. They sort of went for a neutral venue, which is Wankulukuku, and now the Uganda Rugby Union has a partnership with the Kingdom of Buganda to sort of develop the game in around this region. And also, when you look at the patron of the Uganda Rugby Union, that is Prince David Wasaja, Prince Wasaja, I forget his other name, but yes, Prince Wasaja is the patron of the Uganda Rugby Union. But then when you get to this other technical stuff, the Uganda Rugby Union released a statement giving its reasons why they are taking rugby to Wankulukuku, and one of the reasons that they gave, and which I don't buy, is that to spread the game and develop it. I don't know how a one-day event is going to spread the game and develop it or something, but anyway, that is their decision. But then Wankulukuku, this isn't the first time they are hosting a rugby from there. I remember in 2022 we hosted the Rugby Africa Women's Cup for our region, and it was played at Wankulukuku between Uganda, Zambia and Kenya. But the most interesting bit was rugby fans were actually going to their rugby venues and then ferried to Wankulukuku. You get, like Chadondo was like a meeting point, get into coasters and then go to Wankulukuku and support the girls from there. And then also the Coronation Sevens, which are sponsored by the Uganda Kingdom, have also previously happened at Wankulukuku. So it isn't a new ground. It isn't a new ground to rugby, but it is still unfamiliar, especially for the fans who have been complaining a lot, complaining about distance, complaining about security, complaining, about the vibe itself. And I feel like, okay, yeah, maybe those are excuses and whatnot, because you are the people, like me, you and Kyle, we are the party. You get where we gather, that is where the action is. So yeah, it doesn't have to be Chadondo, it doesn't have to be KPA, it doesn't have to be any of those places. But if at all, remember, those were the same complaints that we had about Nambole like 2 years ago, and then we went there the first time, appreciated it, went there again, and it is very okay to try out new things, in my opinion. And I think the fans
That's
should
the reason
have,
you would buy, right?
yes, and I think the fans should keep an open mind.
Yeah.
The good thing, the entrance is only 10K. If at all it was KPO elsewhere, or even the way we saw in the Rugby Africa Cup with an entrance fee of 30K, and the fans were up in arms again. This time the entrance is 10K. Whatever you save on your ticket, probably spend it on your transport and get there and support.
Okay. I mean, that's Joseph has given the reason he would buy, trying out new things other than that. But speaking about the action itself, Buffaloes, Pirates, Heathens, and Cobs are the Ugandan representatives. What should fans expect? Okay, and last week you gave us your expectation. I mean, we don't want to repeat those words because they were not very encouraging. But in terms of what sort of vibe should we expect from the Kenyans? Do you think they will come here? Really, Kenyans really come with a good vibe. So we see them when they come for the Elgon Cup. Do you think the Kenyan fans will be in town as well, just to support, to follow their Kenyan teams?
Yes, the Kenyan fans are obviously going to travel down here and support. Those are the fans of the KCB Rugby Club and the Cabra Sugar Rugby Club. Those are the teams that will be coming to Uganda to play against. The Cabras are playing against Heathens, and then KCB is playing against Pirates. Now, interestingly, KCB was the first one to sort of poke at the Ugandan teams, tweeting in Uganda and whatnot. And then the whole of this week, Pirates fans have been setting up Heathens with tweets like, Heathens, they said they managed you, by the way. These guys are out here calling you weak guys. I don't know what you think. And then setting him up. And it is going to be lovely to see that banter, not only on social media, but also coming down to ground and having those interactions with the Kenyans. Now, of course, the Kenyans have been behaving a little bit because you know how they usually tweet. They start off in English, finish off in Swahili, and then Ugandans get lost. But this time they've been engaging full time in English, so it is going to be very good experience for the fans. But then when you get onto the pitch itself, Wankulukuku is a neutral ground, not only for the Ugandans, but also for the Kenyans. So it is now level playing ground for everyone involved. There are usually technicalities, like, for example, Aaron Ofoiroth knows every single blade of grass that is at Chadondo. When he's kicking, he's very amazing. His kicking game is very amazing, especially when he's at Chadondo, because he's used to that ground. It makes things easier for him. Now, he has to adjust similarly, the same way the Kenyans also have to adjust. So for the players also on the pitch, that is going to be super action. Now, our friends are the Pirates, are sort of lucky that some of the key players from the KCB team have been taken out to go and play for the Kenya Sevens, who are playing in the HSBC Division 2. So they have been extracted from that team. Players like the National Sevens captain King George Oro, and their starting nine, that is Samuel Asati, who is also the starting nine for the Kenya Simbas, the National 15s team as well. They have been extracted, but then KCB still has a lot of artillery at its disposal. So let these three players that have been taken out not deceive the Pirates that now they stand a chance, because whoever is coming into the squad is as good as the one who has been called up to the sevens team.
Oh wow, interesting. So clearly, no semi-final place for any of the Ugandan sides.
We actually believe that the Cobs kind of stand a chance because, for example, also in Kenya they have gone for a neutral venue. They are playing from Nakuru, which is a little bit closer to where the Menengai Oilers play from. The Oilers are going to be playing the Buffaloes, and at least that is the one game that we know that is that game is already done and dusted before even the opening whistle. Because when you compare the Oilers to the Buffaloes, there are very many worlds apart. Our only hope now lies in the hands of the KCB Cobs, who are going to be playing against the Nondis in Nakuru this very weekend in the Enterprise Cup. Why they have a chance is that the Nondis are no longer the Nondis of those days that were, very, very exceptional. However, they are still a competitive side. But then for the Cobs, if at all they attack this game like they are going to play the last game of their lives, then they totally stand a chance. But if at all they go into that Enterprise Cup game with the Heathens at the back of their mind the very following weekend after that, then they may have some very, very big trouble in that game.
All right. Is there some money for the teams if I progress to the semi-finals? I mean, what's the incentive?
Well, I don't know about the prize money. It is still unclear. But for now, what we know is that the Uganda Rugby Union dips their hands into their pockets and subsidize the traveling clubs. Also for the local clubs, they are going to subsidize a little bit here and there, but of course things like medical, pitch marking, and all the costs of hosting a game are going to be in the hands of the Uganda Rugby Union. But for the traveling teams, I've reliably been informed that their transportation, accommodation, and meals from Uganda to go and travel to Kenya, those have been covered by the Uganda Rugby Union. However, what I would have felt like was sort of a better arrangement, even from the gate collections, because now you've gotten this game and you've taken it out of the hands of KPA, or you've taken it out of the hands of Chadondo. And we all know that in our amateur setting, even that gate collection goes a long way in supporting the clubs. So if at all they can work out a certain, if they can work out some sort of revenue sharing with the clubs, that would also be amazing. The clubs would also be incentivized to sort of promote the game and push the game, because they also earn on that front, even if they very well know the outcome of the game. The outcome of the game.
Yeah, I think so. If there was, I think that would even get more fans to go and support the teams, knowing that Micah 10K ultimately will go to Aaron, will go to Kidega, to support the team as well. So if the teams can pick an extra 3 million or 2 or 5 million, I think that would also greatly help them. But that's the Enterprise Cup action that is happening this weekend. Of course, look out for the preview from Joseph Manu, who's on the website. Cobs and Buffaloes are traveling away from home, and they'll be playing in Nakuru, like he's mentioned, while the Pirates and Heathens will be hosting their games at the Wankulukuku this weekend. 10K is the entrance fee, so we don't need Joseph Man Mohumza breaking down the maths for us. So 10K, let's say 50K. 50K will sort you out. 10K is your entrance. The 40K is for you for enjoyments and nigos, like they say. So make sure you make your way.
You pay for it.
Nothing is free in this Ugandan economy,
Hey.
even breathing. So make your way to Wankoko this weekend and support the rugby teams, and that's why the league is taking a break, just to make sure that all hands on deck for our Ugandan sides that are taking part in the Enterprise Cup. But there were some interesting results from the rugby this weekend. Pirates continue to march on, defeating. Had to give Joseph a side eye, defeating Impis at home. Impis just keeps every time I check the table standings, sliding further down the table. Sliding further down the table.
Do they still do t-shirts for their positions? Because I saw a certain post and the guy was saying if they are to do so, then they need a kanzu.
Yeah, Pirates are winning against Impis this weekend at Kings Park. But the pick of the games that Joseph had picked last weekend, Heathens and Victoria Sharks, Heathens running out winners after a painful loss for them the other weekend to the Buffaloes. Joseph, let's start from there. Heathens making light work of Victoria Sharks.
I was actually very shocked with that result, because that is one of the games that we highlighted as the two games of the weekend. The first one was that one, Victoria Sharks versus the Heathens, then the Walukuba versus Hippos game. At least that one delivered. But for the Victoria Sharks to show up and not play any rugby on the day, that was it was actually very shocking, because, for example, the first half, within the first 20 minutes, the Heathens were already 20 points ahead through a Malcolm Okello penalty, conversion, and a David Wako try. And then things get worse even before the break. They score another 10 points to extend the lead to about 20 points. And within that time, the Victoria Sharks look clueless. There is even an infamous video of the Victoria Sharks players fighting amongst themselves. Gavelwani Saboka during the game, Gavelwani Saboka, which I feel like was not a good message to send out there. But then Coach Kevin McMott said he was utterly disappointed, and you could tell from his demeanor. In one of the interviews, he was talking about how his players just chose not to show up on the day. They just chose not to play because they have everything it takes to sort of challenge the Heathens or even beat them. Because if at all they go on and draw with the Cobs, then that shows that they are not very far off the mark at the moment. But I feel like some of the issues that they were facing last season, issues of player chemistry, players not gelling together, they are just throwing 15 individuals on the pitch. I feel like those things are now coming back at a time when one would think that the Victoria Sharks had now started to click and play as a unit. But then again, on the other hand, we have to give Heathens their flowers, because on the day Malcolm Okello was very brilliant, especially off his boot. And then I also highlighted that while that Malcolm Okello was doing all those good things, there is another Okello, Patrick Okello, who was getting a yellow card. And that time when he got a yellow card, the Heathens were left to be only 14 players because of that 10 minutes in bin. And it was during that period when the Victoria Sharks managed to sort of pick up a single try, and those were the only points that they managed to score in that game to end the game 35 for the Heathens.
All right. Another interesting one was the Ginger Derby that was between the Hippos and Walukuba. And of course, that was won by Walukuba. I follow some of the Walukuba guys. I think their chairman is an old boy. We say we are alumni from the same school. I saw some of his statuses. Didn't look like a very comfortable win for them. But, they're piling more misery on the Hippos. Walukuba, again, they needed that win as well for them to try and put some distance between themselves and the dreaded relegation zone. But, good win for Walukuba. And then, of course, the misery continues. The poor season for the Hippos continues.
The Hippos continues. Yes. The Hippos still find themselves in that bottom. They find themselves in that bottom four area, and the teams from the 12 teams, the bottom four are the ones that go into that relegation playoff at the end of the season, at the end of the regular season. So the Hippos are still comfortably seated there in that area, and alongside them they have the Warriors, who couldn't travel to Entebbe to play their game against the Mongers. I don't know for what reason, and that leaves them in a very tight spot. And then, of course, the Rhinos are also in there. They haven't managed to pick up very many. They have only picked up one win, in fact, the whole season. But the Walukuba Barbarians, what they lack in size, they have in heart, and they have in, they work together. That's how I can describe it very well. They work together because they have been playing together for a very long time, and most of them are still young children. Although that time when they beat the Ginger Hippos in the sevens game, they asked them, who are the kids now? Banya Bato Sadino. And the man who asked that question, Shakim Sembus, is now with the Mongas. I think he also outgrew the Walukuba Barbarians, and he moved on to the Mongas. But that is a statement win for me to go to the Rackyard for Madam Waters and pick up that win against a Hippos team that is currently struggling, and this is the best time to face them when they are down, when they haven't recollected themselves to become that Hippos that had started challenging for trophies.
All right, I think the rest of the midfield is still very, very crowded, and a lot of the teams there will appreciate a break starting with Impis, because the last run of games has not been very, very kind to them. But I think the break will give them an opportunity to regroup and try and make up for some lost time. As they try and ensure that I think they did well in the beginning, which sort of in a league where there are not so many teams, once you get your good wins, you sort of buy yourself more time throughout the rest of the season, even if one or two results don't go your way.
Yes, Dennis, I was here last week and I said that we are going to play the Pirates and the result won't be so good, but at least for me the win that I take away from there is that they have now played with the top three. They have already played the unwinnable games, and from the 3 unwinnable games they have beaten Heathens, and that was a good result to get. But if at all they played, for example, they played last week against the Cobs and they lost to Cobs. Then this week they have played against the Pirates. Now they have also lost to the Pirates. That, for the coaches, leaves them in a place where they can now strategize and see the games that are remaining and whether they are able to win them, especially when you haven't played the teams that are below you on the table, teams like the Hippos, the Rhinos, Walukuba. You feel like, for a coach, those are winnable games. And this 2-week period that they are going to rest and train again, it's going to be a good time for them to reflect on how they can get back to some of the higher positions on the table.
All right, as you can see the table there, Pirates still very strong at the top of the table, and the defending champions looking very good for the defense of their title. Still very, very miserable at the bottom there. I don't know, Warriors yet to pick up any points for them, as well as the Kakira Simbas. Those are the only 2 teams that haven't scored points. So it's, I don't know, they are running out of time for them to save their seasons. But Joseph told us already that Warriors, they know what they are doing. The Warriors know what they are doing. So I don't think they are worried at all. They know when to pick they pick their moments at the right time. And you see them staying up in the top flight.
Yes, given our league, a team only has to win about 1 or 2 games. And that is when you can lose all the 11 games during the regular season.
Yeah.
Then when you get into the playoff, which is home and away, all you have to do is win 1 by higher margin or 2. Because, for example, for Warriors' case last season, they had a poor season, but when they got to the relegation playoffs, they traveled to Mbale to play the Elgon Wolves, and then the Elgon Wolves presented them with 3 ambulances, and the Warriors raised issues of medical and whatnot, and then they got a win. They got that win on a technicality by 20 points, and then when they came to Legends, they managed to grind out a win, which was within the 20-point margin for them to take the win, and for the Elgon Wolves to get relegated that time. So that means that they only won 1 important game. Important game, and it was a walkaway.
and they stayed up.
It was a walkover that they received in Mbale. Yes.
They clearly know what they're doing, but just those are the results from the weekend. Joseph, where does Kakira host their games from? Do they play in Kakira?
Yes, they play inside Kakira.
Okay.
So they gazetted some pitch, and it's the one that they have been using. I really hope it is now in a better condition than the last time I was there and I saw it.
Yeah, but a bruising win there for the Buffaloes coming through, defeating Rhinos. Importantly, that win pushed them into 2nd position. Rhinos, we have spoken about them as a team that was also in free fall when we were doing the season preview, but the last 2 results, performances, let me call them performances, the results have been indifferent. but the performances haven't looked very, very terrible because Buffaloes beat Heathens last weekend, and they put up a great fight against the Buffaloes. The Buffaloes, of course, edging that one 15-20, but I think for me, in terms of teams that are improving as the season goes along, Rhinos is one of those teams.
Yes, Rhinos is definitely one of those teams, and what this win does for them is that, okay, it's a win first of all because they're playing a very strong Buffaloes side, and then also in terms of statistics, with that result and that margin, they then get a losing bonus point, and so that will go a long way in determining where they finish on the table. But I feel like that win against the Walukuba Barbarians that they had in Chambogo sort of lifted them up, and now that they do it, and now that they get that bonus point from the Buffaloes, they can rest knowing that at least now they have started grinding out results. Batandi so kukolera njogere nyangu Rhinos batandi so kukolera, and they may have a fighting chance when it gets down to deciding who stays and who goes
down. Who goes down.
Yes.
And I think that's why, in the context of things, I see why Waluku are very, very happy with that result against the Hippos, because if they hadn't won against the Hippos, then that would have also dragged them into the relegation fight. But those are the results from the weekend from the National Rugby League. The league takes a break this weekend to just allow the Ugandan teams to take part in the Enterprise Cup. That's why we encourage everyone to make sure you go out to Wankulukuku and support both the Pirates and the Heathens in the Enterprise Cup. The previews and everything will be on Kawowo Sports website for you to be able to digest and understand what exactly the Ugandan teams are up against in the Enterprise Cup that starts this weekend. If they do well, they'll progress to the semi-finals, but if none of them is able to win, that will be the end of the road for them. The Cobs and the Buffaloes are away. They'll be playing in Nakuru against two other Kenyan sides. So, and like Joseph has mentioned, the biggest opportunity for you, any of the Ugandan teams to progress is with the Cobs, who will be playing away from home. Hopefully, they're also successful on the road. I don't know if they're traveling by road, but I remember when we used to play in something similar to the Enterprise Cup, we used to call it the East African Premier League in cricket. Every time we travel by road, and if you lose a game in Kenya, for you to travel back to Kampala, it will be such a painful journey. It feels like a whole week before you get to, before they wake you guys up. Busia border. Like, I would. So hopefully the Buffaloes and the Cobs are victorious on the road, and we shall be looking out for how all the Ugandan teams do feature in the Enterprise Cup that starts this weekend. That has been our rugby conversation. So I'm going to switch up things very, very quickly and get Edwin Kaukule involved. And we'll start with the football. Some on the field, they haven't been doing well as Sports Club Villa, but again, a lot of people put that down to decisions by the officials. But off the field as well, there has been some tremors with the elections of a new club president. In the end, only Omar Mandela returning forms, and he was declared the next president because no one else returned their forms for the position of president. There had been, they say it was a big cup. I mean, it was a cup that was locking out certain individuals. 100 million shillings, non-refundable. I don't know where the 100 million goes, whether it goes to club activities because it is non-refundable. But Omar Mandela, the man who's been given the next 5 years to take Villa forward. Edwin Kaukule has been very, very close to Villa in the past. I think let's start the conversation from there. I mean, in my opinion, why is someone trying to wreck a boat that is not that is not struggling? Because Mandela has sort of settled things, but there's people who have come out with strong opposition against him.
Yeah, maybe just to tell our viewer, Villa have never had any successful election in history since their beginning. They've never had any successful election, because if you go back to the years between, I think, 2005 and 2010, they had an election where Misaga won, and the decision was taken back to the so-called board that then deemed Misaga to be young, and then they had to bring in another person. So there've been always those things that come around, and that always ensure that the board takes the person that they want most. And still, this time around, while they called the fans to decide and then get to know what's happening, out of the blue, guys were told there is a non-refundable fee that has been attached to this position, being 100 million. And then you wonder who decided the 100 million. Because if you're saying this is a community club, you've gotten people pay as Villa Member Trust, the VMTs. So you clearly know that these are the people who are going to be informed before maybe the public gets to know about some things. And then so they can tell you or they can give you their side of the story. But the funds were not allowed to have even a say. Because after...
It's the members that have say, not the funds.
No,
So,
but
ultimately,
but
if you want to
but
have
the
a say, you
members,
be a
the
member.
members who paid were also informed that day, because then you wonder who decided. Because remember, AC Villa have a spokesperson who is normally in action when there is something, and so after his if the period of his working is done, then you will not see him. I rarely see him at games. I don't know whether he does his work from home, but I rarely
From X.
maybe I think and more so his personal handle than the club's handle, because you wonder how a club's handle corrects a PR. Yet I thought these people that handle these accounts are under his office.
Yeah.
You still wonder how that works, but it only happens at Villa. And more like the song goes, yeah, your Villa Jowulira. That is exactly what explains them. They do things nga bwe babyagala. So whatever happened that day left lots of questions and answers, because even the PR went on to other TVs to say, if you want to be a president, you pay the 20 million, which has been known for the longest time. But it could clearly tell you that they were trying to say, let's make it very hard, and then the people that would love maybe are pushed out. That to say, that election was held at a place that is owned by someone who is among the contestants. Now, if I'm going to go in a match with you, Dennis, and then you say, no, let the ring be put in your sitting room. How am I safe that if I beat you, I'm leaving that sitting room? Now, you wonder if Ben Misaga, to say, he had paid the 100 million and he goes into those elections and then he wins. How do you assure me that Ben Misaga would be announced as the president of AC Villa, yet they are on a property owned by one of the contestants? That clearly tells you what has happened. Because when you look at the team where the players are hosted and maybe where the club trains from, that is property owned by Mandela, to say. We've never had any official announcement to learn whether the place is now owned by the club or if the club has full authority. So, however much FUFA says that they are trying to take these community clubs away from the pockets of the big men, this has still failed, and we should agree as a country that we might not be ready to go past that. Now, on the other side of the coin, you want to appreciate what Mandela is doing, but then you wonder whether he's giving room to other people to have a say. Because wobera mugaga ate totusalirawo ngeri gye tulina kusekamu. Because you've hosted us, then we should laugh more like how you laugh or how you prefer people to laugh. Then it becomes funny. Because for me, I literally know that Ben Misaga loves this club. He has done much for the club. He has invested money. However much, sometimes the way he handles his stuff, you also wonder whether he's also an organized man, if I'm to say. The way he throws his words anyhow, and then for his stature, sometimes you want this wawalala to be done by your poppy guys, the guys that move with you, the guys that hold your bags. But if you're the big man and you're involving in every banter, sometimes people might not take you so serious. So for me, I don't see this as an election. I just see it as a party that people moved along with Mandela and then handed him over 5 years, just like he was handed the other years. Because still, the previous term, we had no election. When we were going into election as a club, my good friend, Council Brenda, took the case to court. And so the whole process was stopped. All of a sudden, Mandela was handed over to then steer the club through the storm. Yes, as a team, they've done well. But for me, this thing of pushing out some people and thinking that it's only one person who understands, who has the clear plan, ye mugezi, ye everything, for me, it does not come off well. Because if you decide to say this is going to be a community club, allow different people to have their ideas, allow different people to say, this is how our club should be run. At the moment, there is a whole conversation of going to the president, asking for land. I hear that land is going to be given to them around 30 acres. They asked for 100, but they were promised around 30. So you get to know that there is a certain group of people that is deciding. But then you come back and you say, this is a community club. We want all of you to be involved. Back us up. But how do we back you when you make all these decisions? And then come and tell us. Because today you're going to tell a Villa fan that your home was Villa Park. You moved to Wangurukuku. All of a sudden now you are at Kadiba. Now there's a certain group taking you to Entebbe Road. But already Entebbe Road has 2 clubs, okay, if you're to say, because Express no longer plays at Wangurukuku. So you have UPPC, and you have Vipers. Now you're taking AC Villa that side. Are you sure that the fans are comfortable to go to that ground? Do they buy the idea of having that ground? So I think if you're saying that AC Villa is a community club, kindly, yes, we appreciate. Thank you for steering the club through the storm. Thank you for finding a club, a training ground. But some critical things allow the fans to have an input. That's when they will feel that their money is important, and maybe that's when they will even pull others to come onto the table of decisions, because then they will get to know that we have a say and this is a club that we own.
Okay, are there term limits?
There are no. Mandela has been part of the team since it started. And I'm one of the people who wonder how this man gets the energy, but Katulinda Tulave.
So what is in it for Villa fans for the next 5 years of Omar Mandela and his leadership?
Of course, now it's stories. It's stories. There is no strategic plan that we've seen or a document shared. Maybe the VMTs have seen it, but I, for one, have not seen it. It's more now about stories. And what comes into play so much is the money that was gotten at when they were relocated from Villa Park. There's a certain compensation that was given to the club. So now that is the money that is being discussed. Of course, they say that it's on a fixed account and it's accumulating. And they say that is the money that they plan to use to put up permanent home ground. And the president has promised that it's going to be priority for the next term. And we are waiting to see, because most of these promises are done. But then when it comes into implementation, it never comes up. Because the same Misaga also bought land around Gayaza Road. But we've never seen anything being put up. So we just wait and see. But what you can appreciate is that now the stories of no salary, bonuses, players being chased out of houses, Bachala Banovia because there is no Kameza. Those are stories that have been put behind, because now you feel that the money is coming in, the salaries are coming in, the bonuses are there. But then we are waiting to see whether now the promise, the big promise of a permanent home will come to place.
What about stories of adult men getting, treated like children in a violent manner?
No, I think that I want to respond in this way. Out of respect, I've worked with that man. But you see, we have different personalities, and sometimes you just have to understand Embera Yomugaga, and maybe it allows you to work around him, because him as a person, I don't know how to put it up, but sometimes he struggles to make his word known. So he can easily use anything around to ensure that he makes his statement clear. So sometimes you get to know that when he's pissed off, he can easily throw something at you or what. But for me, I want to understand that these are some of the weaknesses that we all have as human beings, just like players as well. You can give a player salary, you give them everything, and they fail to deliver. So I want to think that this is something that the players and maybe the technical team you should understand. Omusajja mumulabidde ebbanga, so bino ebintu tebibatiisa tiisa.
There shouldn't be anything new. But that has been about the direction of Villa. They've been struggling on the pitch. And I watched the game against Police here just in the neighborhood. The result not going their way, Police winning that one 1-0. And the Villa fans were not very, very happy. For a second, I was a bit worried because there were so many in the place and wondering hard in case anything. The good thing of playing next to a police station is that you cannot try anything because then you just be put in. So that was the assurance that we are in Tuliku barracks. You can't try anything when you play Maroons in Nuzira. So
no, you can ask the university fans. They've ever faced a day when they were locked up in that place. And so you would come and present your palms. If there is any mud or what, it is clear testimony that you've been holding a stone.
Yeah.
So you could first receive your cane. So each person that was moving out, you had to open up your palms. And for those that got to know that that is the trick, Boba, they had chance to wash their hands. But some that thought we are Kusaga, you could all of a sudden in Ngolo, take whatever comes to you. So it's
was
never
that during a University League game?
Yeah, it was a game between I think it was Makerere and Chambogo. Yeah, it was a game that was relocated because earlier on the Makerere fans had done some violence, so they said no, let's take them to this place. And because Luzira is always calm when games are going on.
Yeah.
You never see anyone, but when you start chaos, where those guys come from, you never get to understand.
Nobody knows. But we're fast running out of time, and maybe quickly let's start with something that had been predicted by Kawowo Sports. Joel Munita writing about a story where Chitara mauled Express 7-1 in Bunyoro. A story written by Joel Munita in 2024. I'm sure Fred can be able to flash it around. But he, in that story, also assumes that leaves many questions, especially in that mauling. I saw one of the videos. I saw a video of the goal scored by Fred Semugabi. In my opinion, you don't see much in that unless your mind is already biased. But eventually today, sometime last week, FOFA issuing sanctions on a couple of officials of Express who were involved in that game, saying that there was a bit of match fixing in that particular game. I think for me, one of the people I picked out in that was Mike Muteaba. I was being very, very critical of FOFA in the past, but I don't know if this was the opportunity that FOFA was waiting for, and they feel like, yes, now we finally have our man. I don't know whether it is witch hunting or there's some truth in it, but unfortunately, I think two officials and 4 players involved in that. One of them is a goalkeeper who was also culpable because of shipping in those 7 goals. One of them, if you can be able to see it in that video, one of them, very big suspect on the near post. But I don't know if you can say so much in that run there from Semugabi, because he was sort of running on a highway. Everyone just let him be, and then at the end there, the keeper at the near post, I don't know what he was trying to do, but he sort of just let the ball slip under his hands. But anyway, it is what it is.
Also, it's a long journey from Kampala to Hoima. It could be that the players didn't get a meal.
They were fatigued. But Kyle, just quickly, in 1 minute before we run out of here, the decision there, I mean, Express, I mean, I don't know, sports betting, a big problem in Ugandan sport, not just football, because cricket.
No, betting is not a problem. Match fixing is
match fixing, okay, of course, match fixing, yeah, sports betting is all, but match fixing a big problem. Of course, match fixing is enabled by the betting. That's a problem. Cricket recently.
I don't see it that way, by the way. Yeah. I do think that the two things are very different, because you see, if someone is going to bet, you have a choice to say what is going to go, what is going to be done, and then all of a sudden, if it happens, you get your money.
Yeah.
But match fixing, you're going to fix a certain result, and so the case is that if you've agreed with the person, that result that you want has to come out in favor
Eh.
of Unzo Mugaga Chenjagala.
Yeah.
So that is a challenge. So for me, betting has never been a problem. Maybe when it comes to people that don't know how to handle their money, you take your school fees and all that, that could be the problem. But as far as the game is concerned, I do think that betting has no problem. But the problem is with match fixing.
Yeah.
But also, for me, I do think, and allow me be a bit off track maybe, match fixing has been enabled because of the environment that we are in as a sports industry. There is no money. Now, if you're FUFA and you know that there is a certain club that has gone 5 months without paying its players, but this team is still on the fixtures, you're still allowing them to take part of the different tournaments. Surely, just using common sense, how are these players surviving? What are they leaving home? So when you find yourself in such places, that's when now your thoughts of querying start coming up. That now, what is the other option? What am I looking for? Now, because I'll tell you, if I have my sick child and someone is telling me, allow in 3 goals and then your money is going to come in clean. I've not been beaten. I've not been coerced. They have not put a gun on my head. I'm getting money. I will take it. So surely we have to improve our environment if at all we are going to try and kick out this vice. But if we are still allowing clubs to go 7 months without pay, and some of these clubs are even entities of the government, most governments that work with security, governments that work with be it authorities, if we keep allowing such things to go on, then we are going to give room for match fixing.
Well, that goal is very disappointing. I was just looking at our producer Fred there having a very good laugh. I think in his heart he was thinking, even I can save that one because he made it.
There's a defender who's
obvious.
tracking back in that moment, and he's totally not even interested in tracking back. He's just sort of following along. You can see him just trotting as. Let's see.
And you see, it's also quite embarrassing for a team like Express to come down to these levels, because I think before that 2024 game, about 2 seasons before that, they were national champions, I think. Was it 2022?
The COVID season. I think
Yes,
the COVID season is the one they won, yeah.
Yes, they were national champions. They had started doing things right. They had brought in an analyst. They had brought in my good friend, Coach Buteme Koyokoyo, as the S&C. Now she's with police, and you can see the results. And coming from a league winner to then being 2 years later, receiving peanuts to jeopardize a game and, allowing such goals, it's quite embarrassing.
I think the bigger conversation, and I hope that a lot of people who are involved in sport need to get on top of, is I don't know who tells players there's this deception that you can live off the game, which is very, very wrong. We are still a very amateur setup. Very few people want to pay for sports, so there's actually no money from entrance. So a lot of players have sort of chosen that path of living off either cricket or rugby or football, and the real truth is there's no money. Mugaga Kyle will put in for the first 1 or 2 games. After that, he starts thinking, I need him what, things like that.
But Dennis, for me, I disagree with you. You see, for you come from a position of being an administrator, and sometimes it is the problem we are going to have with you administrators. You have to improve the environment where teams are going to work from, and so things will start coming into place. When you look at the likes of Tanzania, you see, look at what Aucho is doing with the few years that he has been in Tanzania. Look at what the guys have moved on to Rwanda, what they are doing. They are getting money. But what environment are you creating for these games to play? Because when you look at the billions that FUFA is getting, and then you hear that 70% of it all goes to the national team. But how many times does the national team play? You see, you've got to invest some money in your local leagues so that your local leagues get that muscle, because we've seen clubs come and go, but if these clubs are supported by the government, then they are going to get a muscle. They are going to become better. We've seen just different disciplines here raising here in our neighborhood here in Rwanda. they are now getting players who have played NBA to play for teams in Rwanda. That's how much they are improving. They are getting all our best volleyball players from Uganda to go and play for the likes of Reg, Police and APR. So if we are going to work around these things of creating a better environment for our players, we've got to make these disciplines become professional. Because just like you go to your job and start work from morning to evening, this is how our players have to be. That I'm reporting to, this used to happen under the reign of Mike Mutebi. KCC players would go and have breakfast, lunch and supper at KCC. So you would have time to do your physicals, you'd have time to do the part of the technical bit, and then you'd have time for learning, you'd have a book, sit down and get to know. So if we think that we are going to have these disciplines as a part-time, that nzija nemvuga chiboda then bloka then do what, then all of a sudden after lunch ngogenda okubamu akayumba, there is no serious footballer that is going to come out of that nonsensical timetable. No one, because you're going to have a number of wives that you want, you're going to take whatever liquid passes in front of you, you're going to do all these sorts of nonsense.
Number
and then
of wives is not a problem, is it?
no, it's a problem. No, it's a problem. By the way, if you're going to be a good athlete, you've got to be disciplined as far as that is concerned. So if we create a better environment for our athletes, then they are going to be better athletes. Because we've seen this. When the likes of Cheptegei was still surviving on antics of Nzebanza Lida Wanama Uganda, and I'm from Kapchora, I have big lungs. Yes, he would run, but all of a sudden, to a certain extent.
Yeah.
But when he got better coaches, he was looked after, he was given a right timetable, he became better. Look at our players. Whenever they leave this country and go into better leagues, have better coaches, we've seen the likes of Onyango. Yes, he was here in AC Villa. You could see the talent, but he was not yet groomed into that professional player. So we have to agree that the likes of Luanga or what, the likes that have moved out and played around Tanzania and what, they've put up credible things. So why not our players? So we have to know that we have to improve our disciplines if at all we are going to get professional players. But this business of paying players 200k and then you're saying match fixing is coming up, one way you our administrators of FUFA, when you're taking your kids to school, do you pay 200k for school fees? So we've got to know that these are players. In fact, do you know that there are some Uganda Cranes players that are not given their bonuses, that take time and they are still demanding? So if players are still demanding at the level of Uganda Cranes, how are we going to curb the
Match fix.
Hey. So for me, I want us to handle this thing right and get to know that match fixing starts from us, the fans, the administrators, the players, and everyone who is part of this discipline. Because it's us, the fans, that demand for crazy results. All of a sudden, a team will not...
No, but even you as a fan, you want to go and watch a fair game.
No,
you
but...
don't want to go and watch a... I mean, imagine for the guys who watched that Express Chitara game, they are thinking our guy is good, Kumbe...
No, what I'm trying to say, that it's a cycle. It's a cycle. And if we are going to break the cycle, everyone should be part. Everyone should be part. Right from the administrators, we've got to do our job. Like, if the administrators, if you have to pay players, pay them on time.
Yeah.
As the fans, if we want to say that we want to support our clubs, let's support our clubs as supporters, not as fans.
Not as fans.
Go and buy that jersey. You pay for tickets. Stop watching games from trees. So that way, clubs will get money.
Yeah.
If then that will come back to players, and then we shall question players when we are saying we've given you everything. Now, why are you indulging in such activities? But when we are still jokers, the players are also free to joke.
I would like to put a disclaimer that the views on this show are those of Kyle, but not of this show. Kawowo Sports, so just a disclaimer about match fixing. But that is all the time that we had this week on the weekly Wowos. I've had the privilege of having Edwin Kalkule, who's been away for quite some time, but is happy to have him back. And our rugby connoisseur, Joseph Mahumuza. Don't forget to go and support the Ugandan teams as they take part in the Enterprise Cup this weekend in Wankulukuku. Pirates and Heathens will be in action while Cobs and Buffaloes are away from home. But also you can always catch the National Basketball League on Kawowo Sports YouTube channel, so make sure you subscribe to the channel and don't miss whenever we go live. I've been Dennis Musali, your weekly host, and as always, make sure you keep reading Kawowo Sports. Hey, what a goal. Hey, but look at the keeper. Eh?
The keeper was tired.